So I've reached the end of the Matthew 24:39 issue, um, or a theory that I had, where in Genesis 7, um, verse 17, it read, "Then the flood came up upon the earth for 40 days, and the water increased and lifted up the ark, so that it rose above the earth. The water prevailed increasingly and greatly, and it talks about how everything that was alive on earth was drowned to death. The theory was Matthew 24:39, actually 38, for as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. Verse 39, and they did not understand until the flood came, talking about the people, and took them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. The theory here was that they were not referring to the people. Jesus was not talking about the people being destroyed. So in Luke 17, it talks specifically about the people being destroyed. And then they go on to talk about how the people in Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. But here in Matthew 24, I started to believe that in 39 they were not referencing the people. They were referring, Jesus was referring to the ark, since it took them all away. So if you remember in Genesis 7:17, the only thing that was taken anywhere, that was moved, was the ark. The people basically just drowned as the earth started to flood like a bathtub filling up. And one by one, they all died. Here, this flood, it's not a tsunami. It's not some tidal wave. It just started to fill up like a tub, and people started to drown and die. The only thing that was taken away or carried off by the water was the ark. Now, I reached out to Dr. Bart Ehrman and also Peter Brown at the University of New South Wales. And Peter Brown changed his mind a little bit on the language, but was still convinced that this 24:39 is referring to the people, which I can understand. Uh, Bart Ehrman's contended the same thing as well, which has always been his stance on it. And he gave me a very good reply about the Greek, about the word used. It's actually, I can't pronounce it very well, but it's Haren, HP, and then the limix is apparel, I think. Now, they use the same words in the Greek Septuagint and Matthew 24 for this took away part. So in Genesis, it's ep aparo, and here it's just aparo. I'll put Bart Ehrman's reply in the body of this video. But I do have to agree with him. I really don't have the skill to study this any further beyond this point. It still just seems odd to me that it is saying that with Bart Ehrman, it's kind of that Luke 17:21 issue we were going back and forth with for a while there. So I do agree with both of them. I see what they're saying. I think the word has a lot more it fits better in the way that they see it rather than the way I see it. I still see the entire verses, these two verses, when you match them up with Genesis 7:17, which is what caught my eye in the first place, was that Jesus is talking about these people that are being uh, took away or carried off. Again, here, did not understand until the flood came and took them all away. To me, the only thing that's being taken away is the ark and Noah and everything in it, not the people. So when he says here in Matthew 24, until the flood came and took them all away, the flood didn't take the people anywhere. It was a worldwide catastrophe or cataclysm is the actual translation of flood. Cataclysm from the Greek word translated into English. So it's still there. I'm not going to say that I'm right. I'm going to say that they're right, more right than I am, just because they have the education and the knowledge to make those types of decisions. But it still sits there. I can't take this any further. Unfortunately, I've reached the limits of my abilities, and their abilities are much greater than mine. And I do agree with them. I can see how it can be referring to the people, and especially in Luke 17, it's also referring to the people being destroyed, using different words in a different way. But I still believe that in verse 39 of Matthew 24, that the way this is worded could be referring to the ark being taken away by the waters, as described in Genesis 7:17. But even though I've reached my end point with this, and I've taken their sides and I've seen it their way, I still think that issue could still be a probability. And obviously, this happened 2,000 years ago, so it really doesn't even matter anyway. But it's just something that I observed, and in no way affects the Matthew 24:40 and 41, where they say, then there will be two men in the field, one will be taken, paralam batan, and one will be left. So one will be received, one will be able to leave on their own free will after they see the abomination of desolation, and then the others will be left. I think Peter Brown said it best. A paro. Now I forget the word, but left in Greek. In Matthew is aphiemi, so that is present tense, I believe. And the aphiemi, left or left behind, sent away, rejected. So I think the ones in Luke where one of them's asking Jesus, "Where, Lord?" and Jesus replies that cryptic line, "Where the vultures are, there the bodies will be." I think that's going to be the people he's referring to as left, not taken or received. Aphiemi. So that's where we're at. I'll leave Professor Ehrman's note to me, a letter back to me, reply back to me in the subject line. And I want to thank Dr. Ehrman for his time, and I also really want to thank Peter Brown from the University of New South Wales in Sydney for his help on this as well.